On behalf of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, I would like to express our deepest condolences to the families of Honorable Mwenya Munkonge of Lukasha constituency and Honorable Rogers Mwewa of Mwansawombwe constituency, those who left us, and we would like to extend these deepest condolences to the families of the two and wish them God's strength during this very, very difficult time. We know that these are moments of reflection for all of us as a people, and we do not have a history of losing two of our lawmakers at the same time. And it is a tragedy, but we know that Zambians know how to trust God and find ways in which to comfort one another during this time. I would also like to extend our deepest condolences to the families of the 102 people that have already succumbed to COVID-19 across the nation. Again, our hearts go out to all the families that have lost someone as a result of COVID-19. We'd also like to extend our hearts of prayer to the many across the country that are infected and those that are receiving treatment in several health institutions around our country. We pray that God may touch you wherever you are, and we pray that you may have quick recovery and continue to do that for which God has called you. And we will go further to acknowledge the fact that today, for the purpose of statistics, we have 3,386 cases as a country. And today we have recorded 60 new cases, and out of 369 tests, I believe. The reason why I come to you today on the issue of COVID-19 is to raise the awareness and warn our nation that what is before us is deadlier than we think. A lot of lives in our nation stand at great risk unless government and all those charged with a responsibility to take certain action do so. We may be getting led to a great slaughter as a people. I would like to give a few statistics just to help us a little bit. I've mentioned that today we have recorded 60 cases out of 369 tests. The truth of the matter is that there are too few tests to give us the real picture of the problem that we are facing right now. If out of 369 tests, we get 60 confirmed, it shows you the gravity of the problem that we have at hand. The ideal number that may give us a semblance of understanding the state of this problem is if we can test at least 1,000 people per day. If we can test 1,000 people per day for a sustained period of 1 week or 2 weeks, then it will give us a better picture. But today we are talking about only 369 tests, and they've given us 60. And I know that those who know how to calculate know the percentage of that infection. But to help our people, before I make my statement, not to sound as an alarmist, first of all, I would like to say the following. The positivity rate of Zambia is higher than that of the United States. You must be aware that the United States is right now leading in the number of infections, close to 4 million. We are getting to 140-something thousand deaths in the United States, and the numbers are getting worse. But even with those numbers, Zambia beats the United States in positivity rate. Right now, we are recording a 15% positivity rate. The United States, for instance, is at 9% of the positivity rate. That is out of 47 million tests. Out of 47 million tests, the United States is at 9%. And I know that India is at about 11%, but this is after 13 million tests. 13 million tests, they are at 11% positivity rate. South Africa, we understand that they have done 2.4 million tests, and they are between 7 to 8% positivity rates. Why have I brought these figures? Because if we just keep hearing the numbers of, 60 infections today out of 369, people do not stop to look at what 60 means in relationship to 369. And I've gone in that direction in order to have a word and a conversation with the Zambian people. First of all, Zambians, all of us, we urge you to mask up, to acknowledge that this pandemic is real. It is taking lives as we speak. And it remains for us to conquer this virus. And we can only conquer it together by doing what is expected of us. I know there's a feeling out there some people think can never get to you. But I have met people that I know personally that have become victims of this pandemic. I reach out to every Zambian, mask up, social distance, and ensure that we keep the necessary hygiene to ensure that lives continue to be saved. I also would like to mention to the churches, the day that the churches were unlocked by the president, I gave a statement in opposition to that unlocking. And I know that a number of churches have gone back to meeting, of course in smaller numbers. But I would like to advise my colleagues in the church world, with the spiking numbers now, it is only right that we reconsider going back to the online ministry where we can allow people to stay home and we minister to them using other means until this peak period is normalized. And to the bar owners who have been complaining all this time, I think you need to thank God that you didn't open, because now you may have needed to shut again because of the spike that has taken place and continues to do so for quite some time to come. Having said this, I just want to make the following statement. At the beginning of this pandemic, I made a statement on behalf of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. I made it clear that we do not understand the behavior of this virus. It would be in the interest of all Zambians for government to lock down the country and to limit the spread of this virus, to ensure that the borders are closed, including Nakonde, so that we do not have entry of more infections in our country. The unlocking of the international airport we also made a statement concerning that let us suffer for a little bit so that we can restrict the spread of this virus. We opened ourselves up and we have the current status. We called for a total lockdown as MMD. The Patriotic Front opted for a partial treatment of this problem. And we had made a vow as MMD that because of the nature of the pandemic and the problem the country faces, we shall do no politics. We shall stand shoulder to shoulder with government, whatever decision they make, to ensure that the Zambian people are protected. Unfortunately, government took half measures belief. They did not lock down the country because they were concerned about the economy, and rightly so. But it was a choice between life and profit. And that's the decision that many nations have had to make. And those that have made a decision to favor life above profit are doing a whole lot much better. The United States refused to respond when they had the time to do so. And the whole thing has gone out of control. Zambia doesn't need that. So we believe that government should have locked down, but they didn't. But we are not going to be pointing fingers at each other. I believe that with the spike that has come, it becomes a responsibility of government to ensure that we put in place measures that are going to save life. You see, by choosing profit above life, we have now reached the peak. This information of the peak for Zambia coming in July, August, was information, research information we had from assimilations and the research that has been done mostly by Boston University and a London college that had actually projected that Zambia's height of infection was going to be in July, August, and there will be numbers of deaths during that time. Government also had this information, because I remember the Minister of Finance, when he dealt with his intervention in the COVID-19 press conference at Mulungushi, he did mention that come July, August, we expect a peak. The Honorable Minister of Health has said it before, that between July and June and August, we're going to have the peak of this problem. But we went ahead regardless and continued to unlock the country. I would like to warn that leadership is about taking timely decisions. You take a late decision by 1 day or 2 days, you can lose 1,000 lives. Zambia is an efficient country. We have defeated many things before. Even cholera today remains in small pieces because we make resolve to fight pandemics and to fight those things that come against us as a people. The reason I've said what I've said is to challenge government to ensure that they mobilize not only government resources, but private sector to participate in trying to avert a calamity that may be too huge for us to contemplate. I believe that there are many Zambians who would like to participate in this. I believe there are many government officials, PSs and directors who would be willing to allow some of their resources to go into fighting this pandemic. But I think that we need to prepare to ensure that we have what it takes to look after our people that might fall victim to this pandemic. The second point I would like to make in regards to COVID-19 is to advise government, as we had in March advised. There will be economic repercussions as a result of COVID-19. People do not have money. Zambians no longer have money to carry out their daily activities, to buy food, to take their children to the hospital, to pay for the children in their schools, which are open now, some of them, for examination classes. But there's no money in the economy. Meaning, by the time we reach the peak in August, a lot of our people will be going through one of the most difficult seasons. And I think it remains for government to do whatever is possible to alleviate this pain that Zambians are about to face. Again, it's a warning that we give to government that the poorest of the poor are going to be hit the most. Some of the money that we are giving into the central bank to release to the businesses and to ease the business, some of it must be directly given to the poorest of the poor to help them cross this bridge of this pandemic. Within the next 2-3 months, the real economic impact is going to be felt in this country. The question we have is that, is government ready? Is the MMU ready? Is government going to remember the fact that our people in the compounds are paying the same levels of rentals, the same levels of electricity bills, the same levels for water, the same levels for fuel, Does government know that? Even without money in the economy, they are still expected to do what they're supposed to do. Other countries have released great amounts of money to ease the lives of their citizens. That's why governments exist. Members of the public pay taxes to government in the good days, with the hope that when the bad days come, government will look at them and lift them up as well. We cannot just be a government just takes from the people. Even when there is no drop of blood left in our people, we still suck from the people. We need to look at the people, find a way in which we can support our people and help them to get over this thing. Countries, including the European Union, which released $1 trillion today in order to help out ease the situation in their country, Zambia must do the same. Not just for the big businesses, but for those security guards who have lost their jobs, for those taxi drivers who no longer can make the money they used to make because people do not have money to use taxis, for those restaurant workers that have been laid off, for those hotel workers that have been laid off, for those teachers from private schools that have been let off. So many vulnerable people are on the streets now. It remains the responsibility of a pro-poor government to come up with a policy that's going to ease the lives of our people. We can't just leave them on the streets. We can't just leave them to die. There's a crunch. There's no money in the economy. Our people are still paying for all the services at the same level as before. Government must move in. The movement for multi-party democracy implores government or asks government to look at the poorest of the poor while this pandemic continues to ravage not only our country but the global economy. But together with government and the Zambian people, civil society, and all of us holding together, standing in faith together, we shall overcome this pandemic. But all of us must do our part. Government must do its part. Citizens must also do their part. And then we can all together say that Zambia shall be saved. I thank you, and may God bless our great republic. The election of 2021 will be a choice between good and evil, a choice between politics of respect and politics of violence. The question is, how did we even get here? Insults, booing, and then violence. This is now the acceptable norm of the Zambian politics. In fact, these attributes are translated as signs of popularity by some people. I wish to submit that this type of politics is devoid of progress and belongs to the past. A few days ago, I expressed deep regret in the booing of President Lungu in Monza. Some opponents claimed that booing happened in Kaunda days, Chiluba days, and Saturdays, and therefore justified. This, in my view, does not make it right. Even evil comes a step at a time. It starts with insults, then booing, then violence. I did not look at booing as undemocratic per se, but as war drums that could agitate the violence that we now see across the country. Zambia is under a cloud of imminent danger. The country is being divided between North and South. This could be a precursor to civil unrest in the nation. We therefore challenge both the Patriotic Front and the United Party for National Development to tone down on their appetite for violence. It is clear that PF has been in the forefront in provoking the opposition. It remains for us as the opposition to restrain ourselves from falling into that trap. Eye for an eye leaves both parties blind. The greatness of a leader actually depends on his response to provocation. Zambia today is known as a nation of peace, celebrated worldwide as a country of peace. But that did not come cheap, and that did not come out of cowardry, but it came because our first president, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, restrained himself, constrained himself from firing back when heavily provoked by both apartheid South Africa and Zimbabwe, Southern Rhodesia at that time. We were bombed, our bridges were broken, our buildings were bombed, we were attacked, our people were killed, but Kenneth Kaunda decided to hold back without retaliation. And because of that, today we are celebrated as a peaceful nation. Otherwise, we'd have joined the list of many African countries that have never known peace from generation to generation. It's because the attacked was a leader and restrained himself in order to preserve the many lives in this country. That is the challenge that we have as opposition political parties. We are provoked every day. We go to Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation to ask about the news item. They arrest us as they arrested me for trespass and sent me to prison. We go to Lundazi where we address our members. They come and tear gas us. Women with children, people with asthmatic condition were running for their lives all over the place. But we still had to restrain ourselves and not to try to create a fracas that will kill or endanger the lives of our people. It's one situation after the other. The provocation of the Patriotic Front against the opposition is there for all Zambians to see. But even with that, leadership demands that we learn to restrain ourselves and ensure that we propagate a culture of respect and politics of order. The celebrated politics of Zambia seems to be about violence. Some voters believe that to remove a violent party out of office is the panacea to our problems. But this violent culture, unfortunately, has engulfed other political parties in the opposition. What does it benefit the nation to remove one violent party only to replace it with a more violent party or another violent party? Zambia must now demand new politics that focus on human development and the improvement of the quality of life of our people. Zambians have to raise the bar. We have to make a decision. We deserve better than what we have right now. I don't believe that all Zambians condone the current politics of disrespect, insults, and violence. I believe no Zambians are yearning for a new leadership of morality and integrity. I believe there is a whole host of Zambian people that yearn for a leadership that runs away from violent action and towards politics that will embrace all Zambians in order to concentrate on development. Zambians are looking for a leadership that leads with the heart and not with the power. The New Hope MMD is ready to bring dignity back to Zambians. The choice before Zambians is between good and evil. The country is not divided along political party lines, just as it is not divided along tribal lines, as some people may claim. Zambia is divided between good and evil. Until Zambians choose good above evil, the cycle of mourning shall continue to crowd our destiny. PF must down their pangas. UPND must also down their pangas. We must abandon the old politics and embrace the new. Politics of morality and integrity. Politics that focus on making Zambia the greatest nation on the continent. Together, we shall make it happen. May God bless our great republic. I thank you.